This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 84 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BioStar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we talk with Sika Rodriguez, the key account manager for PLT Innovative Ingredients. Our breed of the show is the Hedgehog. In Critter Nutrition, we look at Ayurveda for dogs. And in Coffee Klatch, we ask, do you love cats or loathe them? Listen in. Well, here we are in pollen season.
Oh, my gosh. You know what I learned? I learned this last year, and I'd forgotten it. But Richmond is like the worst area in all of the country for pollen, like over a period of time during like the spring. And I can see that because I have never started coughing. Like I feel fine. I'm very fortunate. I don't feel that affected by like allergies, but my son Ray, bless his heart, he's having a lot of trouble. How about you guys?
I definitely feel pollen in my nose, in my throat. And it's not, I mean, it doesn't debilitate me at all,
Right.
But boy, when the wind is blowing,
Oh, yeah.
crow.
I was driving back from Charlottesville and went through, and I was going to try to video it, which I would have pulled over and then
Oh,
pulled up the video.
did you see like a pollen cloud?
Oh, it was green. And I was like, oh, this is bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen this.
Wow.
It was pretty bizarre. And I mean, yeah, it was, and then my truck was covered with green
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's that nice coating, you know,
Mhm.
especially after you just washed your car.
And it's sticky. It's not like just dust. It's sticky.
No,
At least the
it is
pollen
sticky.
here is. It's sticky.
It's a very vibrant green.
It is. It's pretty.
It's lovely. How about you, Jennifer? You having trouble down there?
We had a very dry spring. Typically here in Central Florida, we don't get much rain in the winter. It'll go weeks and not rain.
Right.
But generally speaking, by the time February, March rolls around, we start getting some showers once in a while, and it was exceptionally dry right through to when all of the oak trees and the pine trees bloomed.
Oh.
And oak trees and pine trees are more common than air here.
Oh, that's a problem.
So we had some serious pollen. We would go out on our front deck and the pollen was so thick that we had to use a broom to sweep it off.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been experiencing. So
Cray,
I
cray.
get it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And typically it doesn't bother me, but I actually sneezed a little bit this spring and because it was really bad. Yeah.
I think that, and Tigger, you've been feeling this too, but I have just been all of a sudden like kind of been, I don't want to say choking, but like I'm like, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to cough. Like I just have to cough. And I don't feel the other things like, runny eyes, unfortunately, or feeling like slow and, lethargic, because I know a lot of people do, but it's been really getting me in my throat.
Interesting. So the
Yeah, I
weather
get it in
really
my
makes a
throat
difference.
and my
doesn't it?
nose.
Yeah.
Not runny
Yeah.
nose, just kind of nasal.
Yeah, it's just getting up in your business.
Yeah.
Are either of you two classically hay feverish, the type of people that
No.
every
No.
spring and the
No.
grass and stuff? No,
No.
no,
No.
that's good.
Years
People with
ago,
hay fever, I
I
feel bad for them.
well, years
Oh,
ago,
that
I
must
went
be
through
horrible.
like the allergy thing, and I have to tell you that really did. Yeah, it really did help me. And I also
Oh.
think you outgrow a lot of stuff.
Or as you age, which is what I'm finding, is that I am more sensitive. I mean, I never used to be bothered by pollen,
Hmm.
but as I've aged, I've become more sensitive to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're a
It's hard to
sensitive
have that
soul,
happen in
Tigger.
one.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that positive note,
Well, we have a really great show coming up.
we do
With
great
lots
guests,
of great guest and lots of great information. So let's get going. And we're here today with Cico Rodriguez, who is the Key Account Manager for PLT Innovative Ingredients. And the reason I wanted him to be on the show is that I recently got to know Cico over the course of the winter in Wellington, and I found him to be an abundant source of information on the innovations that are going on in the nutrition industry. And he's helped me immensely, directing me to some raw material suppliers for BioStar, which will result in some very exciting products coming out in 2019. But he's got a great personality. He knows so much about whole food supplements, being the former formulator for Garden of Life supplements for humans. So I thought this would be a good chance for our listeners to learn a little bit more about the human side of whole food nutrition. So welcome, Cico, or as I say, Cico de Mayo.
Thank you so much, Tigger. Really excited to be on the show. And I don't even know what to expect. And I think that's part of the fun, right?
That's very wise. As Jennifer rolls her eyes.
So the first question I have for you is, for riders and owners, what are some of the hot, innovative, trend-setting ingredients and or products for sports nutrition for humans?
Well, so I think a lot is being done in sports nutrition around pre-workout, and that's really unique. And the areas that I'm seeing are especially around recovery, but starting at the pre-workout. So if you look at the life of an individual before they train themselves, not necessarily their animal, but when they train themselves, you have the needs of the body for energy to be able to work out. And then you have immediate post-workout activities that start to happen and start to break your body down so that it can then start building back up. Just to give you a tangible example that we all know about, when we dig in the yard with a shovel or using our hands a lot, our body starts to build calluses. But usually before calluses, you have blisters, right? And it's terrible. Your body's not building like you think it should. And then eventually your hands get stronger and you build calluses. Well, that happens on the inside of our body as well. So we start a catabolic cycle when we exercise. Well, what if you could stop that catabolic cycle from happening where you're not breaking the body down first before you build it back up? So there's a lot of new innovations that are happening there in the pre-workout and immediate post-workout area. Things that are really, really simple include having the right amount of glycogen in your muscles. So your muscles run by energy, and you want to make sure that you have the right amount of energy in the muscles so that they can work very efficiently. And then in your post-workout, it's the one time that I would say this will surprise you, but I don't recommend sugar hardly ever. But insulin has a dual purpose in the body. It can either put fat on you, or following a really intense workout, it can actually synthesize muscle. So there's protein synthesis that happens within a certain window. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, because I'm hearing candy bars after you eat.
And after you work out.
Yeah, or a bottle of wine. So yeah.
Actually, that's not a terrible idea. I hadn't thought of that.
You're welcome.
So yeah, that's a great idea. I love it. So here's kind of how it works. Your muscles start to burn through about 300 grams of sugars in your muscles. They burn off. And so your muscles are starving for energy. And if they don't get energy, then they start breaking themselves down, because protein is less expensive. If you go to if you wanted to buy something that, if everything's equal, right, calories being equal, and you could purchase your calories, you would want to spend less for them, right? And so it's cheaper to get sugar or protein as a calorie source, as an energy source, than it is to get fat. Fat's very expensive. So if you run out of carbohydrates, your body starts to use muscle as energy. So after an intense workout, your muscles are what are called insulin sensitive. They're ready to take insulin up and hopefully some of the energy source that's very efficient. So as soon as you finish your workout within a 45-minute window, you actually can help diabetics, essentially type 2 diabetics, shift from being type 2 to becoming type 1 after a number of months of this. But immediately after your workout, you actually give a ratio of 4-to-1 carbohydrate to protein, and you start to build muscle immediately after your workout. And if I were to talk to you ladies, compounding interest comes to mind. Imagine putting money in the bank and never losing a penny, but it only increases, right? That's what's happening in your body. Now you're not breaking down your muscles first. You're immediately building new muscle instead of waiting a day and then 48 hours later you can work out again. So that's a really fun area that's been a lot of really unique science around the pre and post workout categories.
With horses, post workout, we do alfalfa and banana and whole bananas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a very similar principle.
Yes, exactly. And I would guess that alfalfa has, I don't remember the protein quantity of an alfalfa, but Tigger, you might have that offhand.
Yeah, it's 15% protein.
Yep.
And it's a perfect protein for a horse because it includes all the essential amino acids.
And so when you add banana to that, you're stimulating the horse's protein synthesis in the body. So insulin, it's fascinating. You avoid sugar all day long because you're like, I don't want to put fat on, because that's what it does. But there's this magical window. It's between 10 to 45 minutes after a workout that if you eat during that time, the right ratios of carbohydrates to protein. But you also need antioxidants, which is why when I heard the wine comment, that was fantastic, because those antioxidants can totally play a role.
I'm just trying to help.
Hey, you're trying to help everybody.
I really am.
So
actually, I was trying to help myself.
For a rider, they're going to have their pre-day either meal or smoothie or breakfast, something. What would be your suggestion?
So how long is their workout? Usually it's a full day, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, they're riding multiple horses. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I would suggest quite a bit of protein. So I would say they're riding multiple horses probably for 3-4 hours. You're talking
or
about
8 to 9 hours. That's
a long haul. So you're probably going to need to add some additional fuel. So I would eat a good breakfast that would include, I would say probably 20-25 grams of protein would be important to get. I would have both complex and simple carbohydrates, but with an 8-hour workout, that's longer than a marathon. Marathons are like 3 to 4 hours for a good runner. That's a long day.
You're not. Need to. But keep in mind, you're on top of a horse.
Sure.
It definitely is difficult, but it's not the same sort of. It's aerobic workout. Well, some of them are. It's more anaerobic. Wouldn't you say, Tigger?
It's definitely aerobic.
Well, but also anaerobic.
Yes, it's both.
Yeah, depending on the horse.
You're changing. The rider is constantly changing and shifting to their intensity based on what the horse is doing. So yeah, it sounds like a lot of starts and stops, right?
And breaks.
And breaks. So I would say that if there are more intense times, so let's break this up a little bit into kind of the sequence. If there is like an intense 45-minute window where they're finding more intense activity happening, then I would look at taking some coconut water for hydration mixed with a good protein source. If you can find a good whey protein. Oh,
now I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to say hemp protein.
A hemp protein is great. You can also do a chickpea protein.
Yep.
And so when you provide that ratio, then the rider is ready for that 45-minute window to perform really well. So you're getting the carbohydrates, really simple carbohydrates. You're also getting electrolytes, which help during those intense times so you can keep performing. And it's fantastic.
So, Tigger, explain to the listeners why you would say hemp instead of whey.
Siko and I may have an interesting discussion about this on air.
Sure.
I see that most whey has been hydrolyzed, overly processed, and it's not so easy to find undenatured whey protein. I mean, you really have to do some serious hunting. It's out there, but you have to really look for it.
Well, the one that I would recommend is actually a company that uses goat whey protein, which is undenatured, and it goes through a special drying process. So there's a company called Elite Fuel, and they work directly with a farm. It's a fantastic permaculture farm.
Wow.
In Washington, in the Washington area called Mount Capra, and that goat protein with Elite Fuel is a undenatured whey. It just because of the drying process. So
good. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, cool.
So the drying process doesn't put too much heat, so you don't change the shape of the protein, which Tigger and I think would love a discussion on the importance of the shapes of proteins in the body. But in any case, they are great. That is a great whey protein source. Is a goat protein, much more easily digestible than a cow protein.
So goat protein is more digestible.
Yes.
Yes, much more digestible.
For
much
dogs
more
too.
That I didn't know. That.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. 80% of the planet uses goat protein versus cow protein.
Really?
Yeah. So you have goat farmers and you have some sheep farmers as well, but 80% of the planet's consumption of dairy is from goat compared to cow.
Wow.
That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh. Is that a sick goat? Jennifer, why would you say that?
That was a whining goat.
That's
what
that was. A whiny goat.
Nice.
That's with an H. Yeah.
Sounds like that goat needs a pre-workout.
Yeah. That goat needs some hemp.
That's right.
The next topic I want to briefly cover because I know it's a passion of mine and I think it's also one of Siko's is the mineral debacle, and especially focusing on the human end. Minerals are so essential to so many different functions in our bodies, and when you take a multivitamin mineral or you take a multi-mineral, I'm sure a lot of people don't realize what kind of minerals they're actually taking. They just read the macro and micro list, calcium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, blah, 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 and they think that's good. Don't stop to consider what form those minerals are in and why that's important. Siko.
How long is this show, Tigger?
Yeah.
No, we need the condensed Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
Version.
Oh, this is going to be tough. All right.
Yeah, no, you can do it. Just think that you are speaking with people who don't know as much about minerals as you do.
Which is
all right.
everybody.
I'm going to start with some really, really simple ideas. All right. Minerals, by their definition, are elements. They don't break down any more than them. So calcium is calcium, right? Iron, magnesium. Those are the final form that those are the final elements that they can be. Now, in nature, they come in a variety of forms. They can be attached to salt compounds. So, for example, magnesium sulfate. So that means it's attached to a salt. Basically, and we know this in the animal world, and this is someplace that Tigger and I really connected on.
Yeah.
Because salt blocks have been used in the animal world for a really long time, and those are really usually electrolyte focused minerals. But normally, living systems don't consume minerals in a rock form. If I were to ask you, and Patty, you jump in if you eat rocks. I don't want to, miss anything.
Oh,
But
honey, don't worry, I will.
most people,
I've
most
established I eat chocolate and
humans-
wine. Go on.
Chocolate, wine, and rocks.
That's right.
That's right,
Woo.
on the rocks. Right.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So most minerals come in a rock salt form. So I'll give you a very good example since I'm sitting in a room right now. Calcium carbonate is the same calcium form, the carbonate form, that you'll find in drywall. The body doesn't process that very effectively. We don't process rocks. We were never intended to process rocks very effectively. And so the ideal scenario is when minerals are attached to the parts of the food that they would be found in when they're in food. And normally minerals are attached to proteins in food. So if you take a protein like a hemp protein, you'll have almost all of the minerals there. You have some in the carbohydrates, but the majority of the minerals are sitting inside of the protein part of the food. And those are much more bioavailable. There is a journal from the 1960s called the Journal of Calcified Soft Tissue. And to give you an idea of what we've done in our culture of taking what was intended to be very good dietary supplements in the wrong form, is we've caused our bodies to be full of rocks in all the wrong places. So kidneys are starting to get calcified. Our arteries, veins start to get hard, and we blame it on heart disease. Well, the heart isn't diseased, it's the wrong form of mineral. Now, I'm not saying there aren't heart disease issues, but it's the wrong form of mineral for the body to process, to put it in the place where it's actually needed, which is the bones or muscles, because calcium is part of the muscle cycle. One of my biggest passions, because it affects so many people, is iron. So 1.6 billion people on planet Earth are anemic, and there's a lot of undiagnosed anemia. My brother, who is an elite athlete, he actually plays for the Dominican national rugby team, because my family's Dominican, so he made the national rugby team. He was so low on iron that his workouts started to be impacted dramatically. And I started to talk to him. I asked him a few questions about what he was starting to notice. And I said, listen, you should do a test, but I think you need another form of iron. The forms of iron that you might be getting in your diet aren't providing you with what you need. And this is not a joke. In 30 days, he saw a total transformation of his endurance and his strength, like went up dramatically. Because if you're not absorbing iron, then you're doing two things. Number one, you're actually feeding pathogenic organisms to your gut. The bad bacteria are getting fed that iron. That's why people that take irons, especially pregnant women, they get cramps. That's all the wrong bacteria using that iron as an energy, as turning it into energy to grow. And so they have cramps, constipation, digestive issues. Mm-hmm. Number two, you can breathe as much as you want with your mouth and your nose, but if your oxygen doesn't attach to iron in your blood, because you're getting the right form of iron to absorb and utilize, but then your muscles, your brain, all of those things aren't breathing no matter how many breaths you take. So iron is critical, and the wrong form of iron is prevalent. I have a dream of eliminating that from the wrong form of iron from planet Earth.
So can you
for human consumption?
Can you say which the form of iron is that you want to avoid in supplements? Absolutely.
There's a couple. They fall under the name of ferrous sulfate or ferrous fumarate.
Yep.
So if you look at those irons, you'll notice them on every major iron label. Now, there's other forms of iron that are better, but they still do cause digestive problems, and those are single amino acid chelates, which are good. But do we have time to share a little study? This is one of my favorite subjects, honestly, on minerals. I mean,
yes,
if you haven't noticed. Yeah. All right. So back back in a year ago, this past January, so 2018, we did a study, and we were doing it on active adults, and it was an open label study, but it was with a naturopath that was having issues with his patients that had challenges with iron. One of them was a top CrossFit athlete, all right, a male, which is not normal. Males having iron issues is not normal. It's not the norm, but I think it's out there that they're deficient. Another one was a woman who was pregnant with twins and whose midwife said you cannot increase blood ferritin levels in the third trimester. Another woman was a person who basically could barely function during her day because she had no detectable ferritin, which is a measure of your long-term iron storage. And then there was a few others that were just challenged with noticing they were having trouble with their energy, and they weren't sure why. And the doctor diagnosed it to this iron problem. The amazing thing was the doctor used all the best forms of iron that he knew about, and he also used the bad forms just to see if those would work, and none of them were seeing the results. And when I say that they weren't seeing results, the woman that had no detectable iron for 7 years, she saw no progress. So you couldn't detect her iron levels for 7 years, her blood ferritin levels. So she's having trouble functioning during her day, spending time with her kids. Getting to the gym isn't even a question for her, right? She can't get there. So in 30 days, the woman that was pregnant with twins, she had been taking another iron for 90 days, and her ferritin levels went from a 10 to a 9. She was taking an amino acid bisglycinate.
Yeah.
She was taking iron bisglycinate, and it went from a 10 to 9, and that was the best known form of iron that this doctor knew about. And she was on this other form of iron, and in 30 days she went from a 9 to a 23, and she started to be active as a third trimester, pregnant with twin mother of 3, mind you. The woman that had no detectable iron, less than 1 blood ferritin, I should clarify, she went from a less than 1 for 7 years to a 3. So she jumped 300%.
Whoa.
In 30 days.
That's amazing.
Normally, iron supplementation requires, just to move a little bit, it requires 9 months, 12 months. So no pregnant woman taking the wrong form of iron is gonna be excited about taking it and waiting 6 to 9 to 12 months to see a result. It's just too long. Another woman, you can actually go on, I'll share with you the name of the product. You can go on the Amazon page and you just see testimonial after testimonial.
Yeah, that's what was my next thing. Is
mine too is, okay, what's the name of it and what's the form?
Yeah. So I want to give something for your listeners too, to be able to actually take a quiz for this iron, but you can go online and check it out on Amazon or from the site. So the form of the iron is a hydrolyzed whole protein mineral chelate. That's a whole lot of science language for it. You take a protein, you chop it up using enzymes, not heat and all these chemicals, but enzymes that are made by bacteria. That's how we digest things, enzymes that are made by bacteria in our gut, but also our own enzymes. You chop that protein up, and then you introduce iron to the protein, and that creates attachment to the iron. And they also do other minerals. And so this was developed over 20 years ago, but it has never been sold in the U.S. Never, until this study was completed. And now there are people taking it. So the name of the product is simply called The Iron, from a company called Elite Fuel. And there's a really cool quiz. If your listeners want to check it out, they can go to bloodenergizer.com/iron-quiz. And I guess we'll have links in the show notes for that. But that's a great quiz. You should have your ferritin levels tested. But it's the 14 questions that'll give you an idea. Do I have an iron deficiency? And if you do, you want to make sure you're on the right form of iron to be able to. Yeah, that was
my biggest thing I was going to ask, is how many people should consider, doing this, just but you should get it checked first before you
should get it tested. The beautiful thing about the right form of iron is it's very hard to overdose because the body knows how to process things that are in the right form much more effectively. So you don't have the same challenges that you do with the wrong form of iron, which will cause constipation, dysbiosis in the gut, and not really improve your blood iron levels. The test for ferritin is like less than $25 at a typical lab. So it's worth the investment, especially if you're noticing that, hey, I don't have a lot of energy. I'm not sure what it's coming from. Whether you're an elite athlete or a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter. Or an elite athlete who's a stay-at-home mom, like, it doesn't matter. I recommend, I think, for human beings, anemia, undiagnosed anemia, is a significant problem in our world. Probably 25% of the population that they know of, and then obviously you have undiagnosed.
Wow. Well, Seiko, Patty and I and Jennifer would love to have you back.
I was just going to say, we've made a decision.
Yeah, we made a collective decision as you were talking.
Was it the wine?
No. No. I mean, you had me at wine, but then you talked about iron, and just basically this needs to continue.
So Patty suggested part 2. I suggested part 3 and 4. So we would love to have you back. Thank you so much. The iron, I will give a postscript. Iron deficiency is not a problem in equines. In fact, in some cases, we're seeing very high levels of iron, especially in metabolic horses. And part of that is that there's just a lot of iron in pastures and feed. So it's a little different situation, equine and human. Just want to say. But Seiko,
cool.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll have you back very, very soon.
I was delighted to be on. Thank you for the invite, and I look forward to being on soon. This was a blast.
Okay.
Well,
good.
Thank you so much. It was
Thanks,
great
Seiko.
information.
Hello.
Hetty.
Hetty.
Sugar? Patty?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Hedwig.
Indeed.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Hedwig, you sound so mellow today.
Mellow.
I can tell you're home from Florida, aren't you? You're home.
I'm having a little nap right now, and my human is trying not to wake me up.
Oh.
Don't ruin it.
Don't ruin it. Okay. Well, then we'll make it quick.
If he moves, it's over.
Uh-oh. So, Hetty, we have a question for you.
Quiet question.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to know what the question is?
Sure.
The question is, what do you think about hedgehogs as a pet?
I love hedgehogs.
Okay.
They're adorable.
They are adorable.
When my servant was in university, which she claims to have attended, but there is no evidence, and she's pretty dumb, so I doubt she actually went. Her housemate and her friend had one. It was called November. It was named after a poem. Long story. Moving on. Anyway, November was a miniature hedgehog, and she was so cute. She had a little tiny wiggly nose and a little cream-colored long nose, and she was so cute with her little feet. She basically looked like me, only smaller even, and she would curl up with them while they were, quote, studying, but we all know they weren't studying because they didn't go to school. Anyway, sadly, November died because hedgehogs don't live forever, but they
don't.
Love
You're right, they don't. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, well,
she was a very adorable hedgehog, and she loved to be in a sock.
Right, because they like to what do they call it? Hide. Burrow and hide. I think they call it a hide. Yeah.
They had ski socks,
cool.
big ski socks, and she would crawl into them. So cute. Oh my gosh. I love hedgehogs, and now
So 4 paws up. 4 paws up on the hedgehog. Okay. So it's Hetty approved. That's Hetty approved.
Great.
And that's what we're going to end up doing for the rate of the show. So I'm glad you approve.
You know what? There There is a kind of connection between Hedwig and Hedgehog. Just saying.
Yeah, they're because they both begin with H's.
They both have high cuteness levels.
They have super off the charts cuteness.
We are adorable. But
yeah,
I mean, if we wanted to be honest, that hedgehog was quieter than me.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. Yeah.
And even smaller. And she did not have a little harness. Like I have a harness to walk on. Maybe she should have had a little harness.
Oh,
well, there is that.
She really liked to be in front of the heater. That was her favorite thing in the ski sock. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was how she liked to roll.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think
okay,
that
well, thanks, Hetty.
Yeah. Hetty approves.
No,
it's a Hetty approved pet. Thank you, Hetty.
To get a hedgehog. We call them hedgehogs in our family.
Oh, that's
Hedgehogs. Well, I hope you get one for Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Hetty.
You're welcome. Bye, Hetty.
So we are now at Critter Corner, and we are going to do what we are now going to refer to as a Hedwig approved pet. Tigger suggested, Hetty approved. We're going to do hedgehogs, which was a great suggestion, Tigger, because I had never even thought of doing them. And they're pretty adorable. And so for those that don't know, a hedgehog is just a cute little spiny little mammal. And there's actually, I guess, 17 different species. Yeah, I'm not going to name them, but they're a distant relative of the shrew, which I thought was interesting. Huh. Their name came from the love of hanging out in hedges and high grasses, and they're very recognizable because of their spiny hair. It sort of looks like a porcupine, but it's not. The hair is made of sort of a stiff keratin, and their spine, when they roll into a little ball to protect themselves, their spines are not poisonous or barbed. They're not like a porcupine. They don't detach as easily. However, an immature hedgehog will lose their spines and then develop, more adult ones. But they very cutely will roll into a ball when they're startled or scared by, protecting their faces, because that's the one part that doesn't have any spines. And that it causes the spines to point outward to protect themselves. And the hedgehog has two large muscles that sort of control that. So if anybody wanted to look up what a hedgehog does, there's many adorable videos of hedgehog going into a roll. So, but there's very large muscles that kind of, encourage them to do that, which is kind of cool. They are nocturnal. So some can be active during the day, but for the most part, they're a nocturnal animal, which would mean if you consider it as a pet, about the time when you're sitting down to have dinner,
relax.
They're going to be like, yo, mama. Yeah. So that's something to think about. But that's like, a lot of.
They're a lot like a ferret in that regard.
Right. Like a ferret and even gerbils or hamsters or stuff like that. Yeah. But so, it's interesting. So there are wild hedgehogs, and they will dig like a den in a ground, and wild hedgehogs actually hibernate. So when you're thinking about those type of things for, a pet, you need to consider the heat source, because they want to hibernate. Obviously, they're trying to hibernate because it gets too cold. So you have to make sure when you take them into your family that they are nocturnal. We've already talked about that. When they wake up at night, they're ready to rock and roll. Keep that in a consideration. They need an external heat source. And if you buy one from a breeder, they're going to tell you exactly what temperatures and how you do all of this. And most of the pet stores will, if you buy one from a pet store, all of the reading that I did recommended that you try to get one from a breeder and a little bit younger, because they're not really supposed to be hanging with people. So if you want through a lot of patience, they can be handled when they're young and made a really good pet. So when you would bring them home, you would want to have a smooth cage, probably like an aquarium. The rabbit cages and kind of rat cages that you can get, their feet are tiny and they'll probably fall through that. So they suggested, like an aquarium with good ventilation. And again, like I said, a good heat box. But you also want to provide what's called a hide box, because they will hibernate, they need something, well, hibernate, but also because of the type of animal it is, they want to burrow. And like Hetty had shared with us, you can, they like to go in socks. So, you have to provide the things that, that obviously will make them happy. But if you get one that's younger with, time and patience, they will warm up to people because they're very solitary by nature. You just need to take your time with doing that. In nature, they are, because they have snoots or snouts, they are attracted to things that crawl. So like insects, snails, and frogs, and bird eggs, which don't crawl. But so when you are thinking about how you're going to feed them in your home, you can get mealworms and crickets and stuff like that. But they also strongly suggest that you get a good ferret food. I guess it's a thing that a lot of people and breeders will actually feed kitten food, and they don't recommend that because the vitamin and mineral balance is not the same. I mean, because obviously kittens and hedgehogs are going to be completely different. They have about a 5-year lifespan. They're about anywhere from 5 to 8 inches long and pretty adorable. Just want to say that. Once you get one home, if you get a younger one, you want to give them a couple days to adapt before trying to handle them, because they do startle easy and they will just stay in their rolled up stage if they're not comfortable. So if you take your time and you're patient, they really do come around and can be, quite adorable little pets, as long as you don't mind them being on their wheelhouse, from 6 o'clock until probably 5 a.m. As far as health stuff, they strongly suggest, once you get one, bring it to a vet, have it checked over. Mites, like any type of critter like that, is going to be a big deal. And they actually do have some cancer and some cardiac health issues, which can be monitored or, taken care of by a vet. But they are, really quite a wonderful addition to a family. They're a great apartment pet. I don't know that I would suggest it from my reading for small kids. I think it's better for an adult because they are a little bit of a bashful critter, but by golly, they are super cute.
Cute plus.
Cuteness plus. And that's what Hetty said. Hetty gave it 4 paws up.
Yes.
So if any of our listeners have any hedgehogs and any other suggestions or any other information that you can add, please find us. Where, Tigger? Where do you find us?
healthycrittersradio.com or on Facebook, Healthy Critters Radio.
Indeed.
And now we're at Critter Nutrition, and today we're going to talk about Ayurvedic constitution types. Which one is your dog? Ayurvedic medicine is based on 3 humors or metabolic forces that make up the mind and body. Together, all 3 are called the tridosha. The 3 doshas are vata, catabolism, pitta, metabolism, and kapha, anabolism. Breed types can tend towards a predominance of a particular dosha. For instance, greyhounds and whippets and some terrier breeds tend to be vata, while Bernese mountain dogs and St. Bernards tend to be kapha. German shepherds and Australian shepherds tend to be pitta. Vata dogs are governed by movement of mind and body. The element is air. The breed examples: greyhound, Dalmatian, poodle, whippet, and some terriers. Vata dogs are high energy and alert. They need daily activity, stimulation, fun, and play. These are sprinting dogs, but can tire easily despite their tons of energy. They are picky eaters with more modest appetites. Their nails are dry and brittle. Their skin is cool, dry, and prone to cracking. They are uncomfortable in cold climates, and their paws tend to be cold. Feces is dry and hard and small in quantity. They are fast learners, but tend to forget quickly what they've learned. They tend towards anxiety and sensitivity when stressed or out of balance. Pitta dogs, governed by the interplay of water and fire, representing transformation. Breed examples: German Shepherd, Australian Shepherd, Doberman, Rottweiler, Malinois. Pitta dogs are smart, great protectors, and very athletic. They're easily trained and thrive as agility dogs, service dogs, and movie dogs. Their fur is soft, paws are warm, and often bothered by hot weather. They pee a lot. They have strong metabolisms and strong appetites. They can be irritable if they have to wait for their food. They have focused and concentrated minds. They can be aggressive and demanding when out of balance or stressed. They make good pack leaders. Kapha dogs, governed by water and earth, representing structure and lubrication. Breed examples: St. Bernard, Basset Hound, Bernese Mountain Dog, and some Labrador Retrievers. Kapha dogs are physically strong with a sturdy build. They tend to be easygoing but stubborn. Their energy is steady, not explosive. They are not adverse to cold and wet weather. They tend towards being overweight, and digestion may be sluggish. Stools are pale, and there is a tendency towards constipation. They are slower to learn but have good long-term memory. They are affectionate, forgiving, compassionate, reliable, and faithful. They are considered the peacemakers. They can tend towards separation anxiety and excess weight if stressed or out of balance. Just as it is with people, dogs' constitutions can change as they mature or age. A person can be born with a Pitta constitution, and by the time they are seniors, they tend more towards Vata or Kapha. Protein sources. Vata dogs do well eating chicken, buffalo, seafood, and duck. Pitta dogs do well on buffalo, rabbit, venison, freshwater fish, and turkey. Kapha dogs benefit from white meat chicken, venison, and rabbit. Dogs with Vata constitutions may need increased fat sources in their diet in their older years. Watch for constipated stools and add more warming food in: sweet potato, squash, rice, and cooked oats or quinoa. Vata dogs do well with ghee, goat's milk, kefir, and cottage cheese. Buckaroo's warming stew from Biostar is great for your Vata dog as a whole food blend of dehydrated and freeze-dried food formulated on the Ayurvedic principles of warming and balancing foods to be added on top of your dog's meals. Dogs with Pitta constitutions benefit from a variety of foods: broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cucumber, zucchini, celery, kale, basmati rice, mung dal, and some fruits such as apples, berries, melons, and coconut. Include small amounts of ghee and goat's milk once or twice a week. Buckaroo's cooling stew from Biostar is great for your Pitta dog. This blend supplies Ayurvedic balancing and cooling ingredients that provide variety to your dog's diet, support the various populations of the gut microbiota, and satisfy the innate canine curiosity of new tastes and smells. Dogs with Kapha constitutions do well with broccoli, carrots, cabbage, cauliflower, and celery. You can add small amounts of apples, berries, and pears to their food bowl. They can have polenta, quinoa, and cooked oats. They can have lentils such as split peas. They do well with chia and flax seeds and a small amount of ghee. Avoid cow's milk. Kapha dogs can have goat's milk and goat cheese, unsalted, not aged. Kapha dogs benefit from ginger, turmeric, and black pepper to increase the digestive fire. Juvenate Canine from Biostar is great for your Kapha dog. It's a unique supplement that contains the state-of-the-art Ayurvedic blend Chromanex 3 for the support of healthy joint circulatory support and weight management. Feeding for the weather. Vata dogs benefit from their meals being warm and moist in winter. Remember, Vata is associated with air and needs moisture and warming to reduce dryness. As dogs age, they may become Vata and so need warm water added to their food. Some Vata dogs, as they age, may do better on home-cooked meals than raw. Pitta dogs need cooling foods in the summer. Remember, they're governed by fire. They can have watermelon, or you can freeze coconut oil with some chopped berries or melons and ice cube trays for a cooling treat. Avoid sour apples, bananas, and peaches. If you make a home-cooked meal for a Pitta dog, make sure it is cooled entirely before feeding. Don't add more fire to the fire. Kapha dogs should avoid watery fruits and vegetables like dates, watermelon, cucumber, squash, and zucchini. Particularly in summer, avoid heavy carbohydrates such as cooked oats and wheat. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is a popular treat for dogs, but peanut butter is only recommended for one type, Vata. Peanuts are a warming food, so they're not a good choice for Pitta, and they're too heavy and oily for Kapha. In my pack, we love peanut butter. If you have a Vata dog, think warming. If you have a Pitta dog, think cooling. If you have a Kapha dog, think of foods that are light, warm, and dry. And you can apply an Ayurvedic principles to any dog you have.
Real horses and real dogs are healthier, perform better, and recover more quickly on real food. That's why BioStar empowers horse and canine owners with 100% whole food nutrition, supplements, and feeding programs. BioStar products are made at their own certified non-GMO facility in Gordonsville, Virginia, using real food ingredients that are raw, freeze-dried, or dehydrated, never cooked, and are free from artificial flavors, colors, soy, corn, wheat, and molasses. The BioStar product line includes a wide range of whole food, horse and dog supplements, treats, and unique artisan poultices that embrace the ancient and traditional uses of clay and plants. Visit biostarus.com today and learn about whole foods and canine and equine nutrition so you can make the best decisions about the care and health of your horses and dogs. That's biostarus.com. Whole food nutrition the way nature intended.
So now we're at Coffee Clatch, and we haven't talked a lot about cats in a while. So I thought we'd talk about, cats. Do we love them or loathe them? Because it seems there are basically two kinds of people in the world: love cats, loathe cats. I'm a love cats person. How about you, Patty?
I love to loathe my little perfect kitties. Yeah, it's a love hate for several different reasons. Yeah, Jennifer.
I'm a love kitties. Love kitties.
Oh God, little fluffernutters. Yeah,
but you don't have any kitties.
Well, we are renters. We are not owners, so we don't get to decide necessarily what creatures we have in our home. We had a kitty when we moved. We had a kitty when we moved here, and that kitty passed away about 2 years ago, and we do not because we got to keep the kitty when we moved here, not because there were kitties allowed, but because we already had it.
Right.
But since you already had it, can't you replace it?
No, it doesn't work that way. And also, it's a relatively small home with a relatively large dog already in it, along with 2 people. And I will say it was a little bit crowded. I'm a great believer that kitties need space, not necessarily space as in living in the outdoors or anything else, but they need space to be a cat. Does that make sense? They need a territory.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 cats. Yes, it does make sense.
Right. And because our house is relatively small and we cannot have kitties in the bedroom, so that makes it even smaller, I didn't feel that it was fair to have a kitty in that small a space because between the humans and the dog and the small space and the cat, there was not room for that kitty to have a proper territory and be a happy kitty.
A kitty kingdom.
It didn't have its kitty kingdom. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. But I love kitties. I love kitties. Oh. Kitty hairball retching, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could have a cat, is there a specific kind of cat you would choose?
I love kitties. I have a special spot in my heart for the great American mongrel kitty, the barn cat. We've never owned a fancy cat of any kind. There's always been barn cat or shelter rejects. I don't care much for the smushed face just because I don't like the look of it. I like my cat to have a pointy nose. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I love long-haired kitties. I'm not real big on the hairless one. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
That's a little weird for me. Yeah, because they should be soft and fuzzy and have hairballs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, if you have 2 ragdoll cats, hairballs are a definite plus, and it will make you super happy.
Yeah.
And
hairballs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are one giant hairball in every day.
And it's so interesting because since moving from Houston, now granted my house was bigger. I went down about 1,000 square feet, although my yard went out 200 acres.
100 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are indoor cats, which I've actually started to let them go outside under supervision, which is sort of funny because they're walking going, "Ooh, this feels weird." It's like, a kid that like goes outside the first thing in the summer and they haven't had their shoes off outside. And they're like, "Ooh, that's my cats," which I'm doing every day. But it's so interesting the amount of shedding they're doing because there's more, I guess because there's more seasons here, which is funny. But that's my, here's the thing that I love about the two cats that I have. They're beautiful. They're stunning. They're beautiful. They actually come when they're called. I mean, truly, like I'll be like, Fupa, where are you?
Sure,
And she'll
that's
like,
a cat.
My
I'll show you.
Maine Coon cat came when you called. So
Yeah,
I think
I
there
mean,
are breeds that
well, and
are
ragdolls
they're
are
not
sort of like
dog-like, but they're more
relational, I guess.
engaging. Yeah.
Engaging, yeah. And I got them when I still lived in Virginia 5 years ago because I wanted an animal that if I needed to leave home alone for a day or two, I didn't have to have someone come in and take care of it because, obviously dogs are, more demanding that way. But that didn't stop me from getting dogs. So let's not even go there. But thank you, Tigger.
And there's something wrong with your logic there, girl. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And I, who's your dear friend? Her name is Tigger. She's a dog pusher. As I'm scratching this cute little puppy's butt. So, but the thing that's hard for me is that they're so incredibly beautiful, and they are very relational, which is a bit of a pain because the one that I have, her real name is Mila. Hannah has renamed her Fupa, which means fat above the pelvic area. She's a bit of pudge, and she's the queen, and she is the most beautiful thing that I have ever laid my eyes on. She has intensely blue eyes, and she's a seal point, and she's just, and you say Fupa, and she goes meow. I mean, like she'll talk to you. If I called her loud enough, she would come right now. She's just like that, But then she does something that Hannah has deemed fupilating. And what fupilating is that in the middle of the night, she'll come and lay on your chest and lick your hair. And I've got to tell you, when you want to get a full night's sleep, someone laying on your chest licking your hair is not what I want. So that's where I loathe that part of the cat ownership. And these two cats want to sleep like right next to me. So on top of the dogs with all the cats, they're like laying next to me. I am boxed in like a little coffin at night. But what I love about them is they can just be next to you with I don't have to pet them. I don't have to, they can just sit next to you, and that's satisfying as far as relationship, like just hanging out with you. And what I find is kind of cool is my two are so smart. And I don't know, Tigger, I've never had an indoor cat. Ever. I always had barn cats. But these guys will, like my one cat, Gabriel, who is this beautiful gray with these intense green eyes, will come and get me and be like, hey, there's no water. Can you help me out? And he will walk back and forth till I go get him water. And then he will not leave me alone. Like he'll come over and he'll like, hey, Ma, let's go over here. Hey, Ma, let's go over here. And it's so funny that we've chosen this topic because I just read this article about a cat that helped save, I don't know if you guys saw this, I think it was trolling around on Facebook about this cat that saved this infant because the infant was choking and the mom couldn't hear it on the radio, like on the baby monitor. And the cat kept going in to try to get the mom. And she was like, come on, leave me alone. The cat's name was Midnight. And eventually got to the intercom thing that you had the baby monitor and just started screaming like something was wrong. And eventually they went in, the baby was blue, and the cat saved the kid's life. So there's so many things about cats that are fascinating and incredibly wonderful. So
yeah, how about you? I love cats. I lost my last cat, died 2 years ago, 17 years old. The cat the size of a small country, weighed 24 pounds.
Ooh,
a rescue.
That's healthy.
Yeah, he was a big dude. What I really miss is the attitude. The dogs are like, okay, what do we do today? And what's on the schedule? And let's go here. Let's do. And the cat would be, sitting in a chair, cleaning his face. Yeah, whatever. And I love that juxtaposition of I really don't care and I want to do whatever you want to do. So for me, it was kind of a balance, and I miss having a cat just for that. They're unique, sort of aloof, but could be very friendly personalities. I always used to say that cats were aliens from another planet because they're just so unique.
Yeah.
And
I think you nailed it in that with a kitty cat, it's all about the aloof, and everything in the universe is on their own terms. They own their universe. I decide when you
Yes.
pet me. I decide when I want to eat. I decide what I want to eat. I decide whether or not I'm going to lick my paw. I'm going to decide whether or not you can touch me today. Everything is on their own terms. And it's just so cool because when they want to hang out with you, it's because they want to hang out with you. It's not a case of, gee, I changed my cat
or
to hang
they
out with
want
me.
something.
Or
Like,
wants-
it's time to eat. It's time. Get up. It's time to feed the kitty.
There you go.
Yeah, they're
The kitty I had most recently, we called him the Beast. When he was younger, he would retrieve. When we first moved here to Florida, I would do the morning show with Glenn, and the cat would pester me. He's like, okay, let's have some fun time. Like, no, really, I'm busy. I'm doing the morning show. So I would take his toy, and his toy was a dressage whip with a short piece of yarn and a little ball on the end of it. And I would literally zing it across the house. And at the time, we were in a very large house. I would zing it across the house. It was probably 30 or 40 feet. He would race to the other end of the house, grab it, and drag it back to me. And I'd zing it across the house again, and he would drag it back to me. Yeah, I miss that.
Oh, I bet.
Well, if any of our listeners have cats and want to share some of your great cat stories, leave a message for us on our Facebook page, Healthy Critters Radio, or on our website, healthycrittersradio.com. Meow.
Meow. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BioStar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
Forgive your fox.
While hedging your hog.
We also recommend that you rack with your raccoon.
Gyrate with your giraffe.
Meditate with a meerkat.
Uber with your orangutan.
Facebook with your flamingo.
Ponder with your panda.
Walk with your Wookie.
Yawn with your yak.
Twitter with your toucan.
Go raining with your reindeer.
Dropbox your dragon.